the thing that's interesting is what I'm feeling right now is something different. Something much more like a heartache. Because it's not that my experience of form right now feels less liberated. But the whole point that I'm not trapped by form. It's not an obligation. It was not put on me from the outside by another. I just feel a great deal of care. And it's interesting because I can't feel this kind of care when I feel separate. The self-contraction, the ego in the spiritual sense, not the psychological sense. I just say self-contraction. The feeling of being separate. So whenever I'm in the feeling of being separate, I can't really experience this feeling of care. I can be worried and concerned and tied up in knots, and of course I will be, because that's just how you are, certainly how I am when I'm separate. But this is entirely different. This is, this feels like not having skin, or the heart being on the outside of the body. Because I'm experiencing form or phenomena as self-liberating right now, that nothing has to be done, that it is a dream of my own big mind. There's a freedom to be able to care. And even prior to that, prior to the caring, there's a freedom to feeling what's happening, to feeling form, which means all of it. And that is not something that's possible with a separate identity. Because it's too much. And usually it hurts too much. So it's funny to me that I've ended up in this very sensitive feeling state, because where I wanted to get to was, what is your motivation if it's not the feeling that something's wrong, or something's broken, or something's hurting, or suffering? All of that may be true, but not fundamentally. Not fundamentally. And so, the only response that I can it's interesting from the view of the separate self or the self-contraction. The feeling is, in view of a problem or something that needs to be fixed, or suffering, is the feeling, I must do something about this. I must do something about this. And right now, experiencing form as fundamentally self-liberating, there's still the feeling of I must. It's just a different identity. It's just I must without a boundary, or any particular sense of an I. So whereas with a self-contraction, I must act because something's wrong, something's broken. And with an identity without boundaries, it just feels like a surge, a wave, a force of nature that just says, act, I must. It's just the I, it's no longer a separate I. It's an infinite I, it's an I without boundaries. So you still respond to conditions, to form, to phenomena. In fact, I think the whole point is you're finally free to respond because you're not terrified of form anymore. When you feel separate and small, and limited, it can be very difficult to express care. Certainly care without a boundary. Because when you feel fundamentally limited, the experience is, if I care too much, I'll die, or I'll be hurt. Whatever you say, but the whole point is, there's always that feeling, if I care beyond this point, beyond this boundary, I'm not going to be okay, whatever that means. But what I'm feeling right now is when I don't feel limited, when I don't feel a boundary, the only thing left that's satisfying is caring. Not caring for this or that, not picking and choosing your caring. Caring for the whole thing. Hi, kitty cat. Hi. It looks like my kitty cat is demanding that I care for her. So maybe that's a good place to stop.